Greetings everyone from Cleveland, Ohio. Today is Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. It is, let me grab the time real quick, 7:49 a.m. and about 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Feels like closer to 87. It'll be a hot one later today. That's why we're trying to get a morning video in. We're at the corner of Cedar and East 22nd Street. So downtown Cleveland, you see Rhodes Tower, Cleveland State, and trees are blocking the downtown view for the rest of it, but we'll capture that in a second. We're going to try to do some exploring of the central neighborhood, which is one of the closest neighborhoods to downtown Cleveland. I've got my bicycle with me. To begin though, I'm just going to do a walk initially so I can show a few things, and then I'll hop on the bike to help get around more. On the bridge over the interstate, you've got a mural of like the ground level, seeing everyone doing recreational activities. From this step forward, we walk together. You can also see the 14 bus that cuts through the central neighborhood. Also, I believe comes from the Kinsman area. And then across the interstate, you've got positive words like privilege, justice, ready, believe, togetherness, thrive. And then there's your shot of downtown Cleveland from this angle. You get other shots as you go further along, but one of the views as you're getting ready to exit the central neighborhood. All right, let's continue on now. I did a live stream video the other day explaining some of this. Here's the sign for a demolition site that includes this, and up ahead, which is St. Vincent Charity Medical Center. So St. Vincent Charity Medical Center will be no more, and I'm pretty sure they're demolishing all of it. I'm not positive about that building that's over there on the right. I mean, perhaps some of this they could repurpose. Now there is a sign over here that also says Campus District. I think they try to consider that part of the Tri-C area and maybe the Cleveland State area. But you can see we're at the intersection of East 22nd and Central. It's not necessarily known as the best neighborhood. You can see this thing, which would have been one of those kiosks that I think has electronic things on it. It's been busted up. Now we'll let this vehicle turn, and then after that you can see some of the demolition that's already occurred at St. Vincent Medical Center. All the rubble in the ground. The main building is still standing as we go further ahead, but when I was by there the other day, the front entrance has been taken apart. And construction crews are continuing to work on it. They shuttered this in November 2022, so 2.5 years ago. The little park and courtyard area still seems to be nicely kept up. I imagine maybe they'll preserve this as like a little park, but I have not been able to see yet what the future of this lot of land is supposed to hold. If I zoom in, you can see how the front part's been, like the entryway's been deconstructed. I mean, I just assumed that they're going to tear the building down. I thought I read that the whole thing was going to be demolished. I don't know if anything's been different on that. So let's go ahead and cross the road here. We see that forklift really lifting that heavy stuff in the air. Geez, you'd hate to be under that and that collapses on you. What I wanted to show though was this nice artwork that I saw the other day that sort of helps highlight the history and popular attractions in the central neighborhood. Woodland and 55th Street are two of the big houses. You've also got House of Wills. People who are from the area or grew up here, Carl and Louis Stokes, Jean Merle Capers, Sarah Harper, Wilbert, Bill Cobbs, Woodland Cemetery, and you've got Dorothy Dandridge and the Majestic Hotel. And if we flip to this other side, by the way, it says this was in 2016 by artist Augustus Turner, part of the City of Cleveland Public Art Program. Let me get, so the sun's not in our way. Cuyahoga Community College, Ruby D, Jesse Owens, Jane Edna Hunter, Langston Hughes, the Call and Post Paper, Sister Mary Ignatia, Shiloh Baptist Church, and St. Vincent Charity Hospital. The St. Vincent Charity Hospital, unfortunately, well, I'm sure there's good memories of it for many people, but did not survive. Yeah, they're doing some type of construction up there, so that would lead me to believe they're not going to demolish that building. But here's your other shot of downtown Cleveland that I was referencing. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is strap the camera to my chest, and then we're going to begin the bike riding portion so we can cover a little bit more ground here. Alrighty, let's get going now. Got everything set up. By the way, forgive me if you hear the camera making some weird noises. It's either vibration noises or some like blurry shakiness. The camera that I use has started to malfunction, and I'm in that predicament where I still want to film. Hopefully it's tolerable when those moments happen, but for investing in a new camera, that's between, depending on what type of camera I get, that'd be between like $400 to $1,000. It's around the community college. I'm not sure if it's avenue or road or... Oh, so it looks like... Alright, I didn't get a glimpse of this the other day when I went by. So the front end of St. Vincent Charity Hospital is the still standing part at the moment, but the whole back end is gone. If you can see that. So we're not going to be able to get necessarily a full tour of the neighborhood, but we're going to swing by some spots. That's what I want to highlight and go through Tri-C, which is nearby. I am not at all familiar with the buildings on the Tri-C campus. The only thing I can express is in 2023, midway through 2023, so around this time 2 years ago, that's when my friend and colleague Patty was, after work, I was going to be learning how to drive, so after work we were starting off by going here. This was probably from like my first 2 or 3 lessons. We went over here, and this parking lot, because it was during the summer term, is where I began learning, the basics of driving, just like moving forward. I ended up being a very quick learner, but this lot, just like turning around, and there were even fewer cars at the time than you see now, but it was big open area to practice during the summer term. Up ahead is Cuyahoga Community College Manufacturing Technology Center. Not sure what ways there are to cut through the campus, but let's go ahead and try to navigate a little bit. We'll just go through what we would call the middle area here. And forgive me, I know we are riding in the morning time toward the sun. This building here has a sign that says Liberal Arts. You've got a little artwork area of beams. That says Science and Health, I think, Center, or Career, Science and Health Careers Building. It's even something like this, which may seem not too interesting to some. To me, I'm like, oh, cool. I've always been aware that Cuyahoga Community College is right next to Cleveland State. You always hear about Tri-C, but I've never actually, to my recollection, set foot anywhere near, well, I won't say anywhere, but I've never set foot like within the campus grounds. There's the media center on the right. Down below us, we've just got more of the same, where you've got like a little bit of seating and grass area. Theater on the right. Auditorium. Arts and music. And I'm not sure what building's on the left side here. I'll have to make note, and like one day during the actual like fall or spring term, try to come here when students are actively about, and then capture things then. And then the campus also goes across the street. Like to our right, it says the Recreation Center. We're gonna go back down to the main road so that we can go across. The first time I actually went on the main road too, was I went out of the parking lot and turned down that road and made like a full square around the block, which is pretty long roads. But it was nice again because it was good practice to get on the road. It was a nice long stretch where you could go straight and then do like several right-hand turns, and it wasn't too busy of traffic. I've also got a track and field over here on the right for Tri-C. And after I did that big square around the block, I continued onto this direction. And actually, I think because of how little traffic there is, I'm going to use the bike lane in the street here. But what I had noticed when I was practicing driving, when I turned here on East 35th Street, it was a very nice little mini neighborhood. It seemed like, you can see how all the trees and trees and houses are like all together but compact, and it looks fairly newly developed. Anytime I see these things, it comes with a disclaimer, because I'm like, well, fairly newly developed might mean that they've still been around a bit, but it's like a grid structure. You can see the same thing going over there. So maybe people who grew up in the central neighborhood or are familiar with it and haven't been back in a while can look and comment, like, would you have anticipated seeing something like this in the central neighborhood? Because, I did not expect to see something of this nature. When I was doing some research online, granted, a lot of populations around city of Cleveland and nearby neighborhoods have diminished significantly over the years, but when I was reading about Central had a population of maybe around 60,000 something back at its peak in the 40s or 50s, and then as of 2020, population was all the way down to 11,000. And you don't have much retail in the neighborhood. You also have the highways that sort of cut off the neighborhood in both directions. Separating it from downtown and also the Broadway Kinsman area. So this is East 37th Street now. We'll veer out of this neighborhood, or this section, and we'll go up to Woodland. Because from what I gathered online, Woodland and East 55th Street are two of the bigger named streets. They got kind of a weird looking cul-de-sac in the middle there, or traffic circle. So you got a fire station. Actually, so we're not quite on Woodland yet. We're still in that area, but I'm going to take it. I'm not sure if the sidewalk over there is shaded. I'm going to take advantage of riding on the edge here while we're in the shade. Get me a couple more blocks and then I'll go on to actually Woodland, but that is Woodland to our right. Right now it seems like a lot of vehicles on it, so maybe one of the main roads people take to get into downtown Cleveland. These traffic circles here are kind of confusing. Because like the stop sign is like way up there, so it's not where you traditionally would think it is. All right, let's actually go on. I could see now there was shade over here, so we can get a closer look at the actually being on Woodland. And there's probably not going to be much to see as far as businesses per se, but we'll still ride down it. Over there on the right, something called Seaway Wholesale. On the corner of East 40th Street. See if these cars stop. There's more stops for that 14 RTA bus or the 14A. And then over here on the left, you've got a different style of housing. It's always nice too when you're riding through like a certain neighborhood, if you're going further away, like, oh, what happens if I get a flat tire? Because a day like this isn't the type of day where I'm going to want to turn the bike upside down over in this area and just start changing my tire. So you like to be cognizant of where the bus stops are, because I have an all-day bus pass that I've already paid for. So then I can just, if the bike has an issue, I can just, all right, you know, I can stop and throw it on a bus whenever it comes. And not have to walk the whole distance. Up ahead on the right, it says Woodland Data Center. Cleveland Municipal School District. Huh. I wonder if that's still being used by Cleveland schools, or if that's like an old artifact of a building. I still see like window plants in the windows, so it makes it seem like it's still active. Does that mean that's where all of our records are being housed for us former students? I don't know. Far on the right there is something called Hillcrest Food Service. And then we are approaching East 55th Street and, well, to the left side goes East 55th Street, and then to the right side goes Kinsman. So we're not going to take a right toward the Kinsman area. We're going to make a left-hand turn and head back inward, although I might cross the street first. Across the way there it says United States Postal Service Jesse Owens Station. So they got the USPS, and a shout out to Jesse Owens. You know, rather than waiting, because it's, like I said, a hot day, maybe I'll ride down a little bit this way and then eventually cross over. There's a Rally's on the opposite side of the end. I'll try to read off some of those stores I see over there. Manhattan Fish and Chicken. Beauty supply store. I don't know if these places are actually, in business, but That's what the storefronts say, a laundromat. I mean, not, you know, when you see the businesses, it's not the most enticing businesses like that someone's gonna go out of their way to come see. So over here on the left it says Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority, Alfwaith Homes. I don't know if that means it's like affordable housing for, like, my thought is when you see Cleveland Metropolitan Housing Authority that it's homing, you know, homing for people who can't afford it. God, there is just glass everywhere. I mean, you expect it. It was just still frustrating trying to ride and there's like glass everywhere. And I'm just weaving in and out on the, to the left and right. No traffic's coming now, so I can cut across the street. Oh, here's the thing that said House of Wills. So there's some historical nature to this. I didn't have a chance to read up on it. Let me at least grab a picture of it and then I can fill in the blanks later. Let me also make sure I actually let you guys see it, because my camera when I'm on the bike doesn't necessarily showcase it. There we go. So House of Wills. All right. And over here on the corner of Scoville, it's the historic Shiloh Baptist Church. And then is this East Tech? I think it is. Over here on the right, you've got East Technical High School, I believe. Did I put my camera back in the right mode? Yeah, I think I did. So then what's kind of weird is over there diagonally from us, you see one of those City of Cleveland, you know, parks signs. It's called Lonnie Burton Park, but it's literally just an open grass field. There's no like playground stuff. There's power lines strung in the middle of the field, so you can't really just like use it as a full soccer or football field. I guess you could in the middle. I mean, how can you have a sign there that calls this a park when there's like nothing besides an open grass field? Maybe it does still get utilized though for things like pickup football games and such. And like I said, here's East Technical. Try to get in the shade. So obviously the school goes further back, like we're just on the East 55th side of it. So the depth of it should be further. You know, maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe this grass field isn't that park. Maybe it's, if we go back to that where it says Lonnie Burton Park, because technically the sign is over there on that end. And I do see like goalposts for an actual football field. So maybe that's considered the park instead of just the open grass area. And that's what I always say about the Poco Traveler channel. You know, there's certain neighborhoods that I grew up in, so I'm a lot more educated and informed. When I view these neighborhoods that so even though they're nearby, pretty close to where I spend a lot of my time in downtown, like these are not areas that I've ever had a chance to explore. So to me, it's like I'm a brand new visitor to the area. So I just comment on what I see as a visitor. You can see here at St. Paul AME Zion Church. I don't know if that still stands, but it says free hot meals served this Saturday 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. But you never know with these things. Could be old signage. I was trying to do research on the neighborhood in advance, and some people were saying that one of the oddities about the central neighborhood too is how you've just got like inconsistent looking housing, because you have the old areas, because I probably haven't gone on a lot of these side streets where it's got the old housing, but then you've got just like splices of these newer developments like we saw earlier just thrown together. So you've got a mixture of that, so it's not yet really like a cohesive neighborhood feel. And the perception from outsiders was like, what's going to incentivize a lot of developers to want to like build retail or build things here when it's, you know, they don't know what to expect for the future of the area. And even though they've developed, like, one of the unusual statistical things that people are commenting on is on the east side of Cleveland, some of the more expensive housing is actually located in this neighborhood, and it's because they're the newly developed homes. As you see another church here on the right, Friendship Baptist Church, but it's just like sporadic. It's not indicative of the neighborhood as a whole. I mean, as I'm riding through and you're seeing the main streets in Central, would this incentivize you to want to like move here when you have all these other choices? No, like present day, if you can afford to go somewhere else, you're not going to choose probably this area. Now maybe if you're a developer and think it has potential, that could be a different story. Alright, when I get up here, let me try to look. Probably are getting pretty close to Euclid, which would be the end of the central neighborhood. Yeah, Carnegie is next, or not literally next, but the next main road, and then Euclid. Maybe we'll go down Carnegie, because I don't want to go all the way up to Euclid, because like south of Euclid is central. So once you get to Euclid, I don't consider Euclid Avenue part of central. Maybe either Cedar up here or Carnegie. We'll try to cut down, see if we can get a glimpse of any other parts of the neighborhood. I also saw something cool online. I think it was called the Sit-Away Bridge, and it was like the only suspension something bridge in Cleveland. It's no longer active, but there's still like pieces of it you can see from a distance, and it would connect, I believe, the Broadway neighborhoods to the central neighborhoods. Yeah, let's try going up to Carnegie. But I don't, when I was looking online, the Sit-Away Bridge, I don't think there's a glimpse that you can get from it from the central side. I think you have to ride quite a bit further into near Kinsman and then come back around. And even on Google Maps, it looks like to get to the bridge now, there's a fenced area with a gate that's possibly open, but secluded. You've got another fire station across the street with a little bit of a mural. All right, so let's go this way now. All right, so the sign on the right over there says Midtown Historic District. And that was part of the thing I was trying to avoid. Even though we're only on Carnegie here, headed toward Euclid would be like Midtown. So it looks like even that sign there is trying to consider what you see on the right side more of like Midtown Cleveland. But Google Maps, let me look at it just to check. And granted, Google Maps is not necessarily the be-all, end-all. But Google Maps still considers this the central neighborhood. Man, this is weird. Look at these power lines on the right here are just like hanging where you could guillotine yourself. This is the first time I believe I've done, I've done an Asia Town video before, but like, this is the first time I've done a video that I would consider really exploring an east side of Cleveland neighborhood and trying to do a little bit of a tour of it on video. I'm hoping I can start sprinkling that in the future to, you know, a lot of my coverage has been on downtown Cleveland or the west side of Cleveland or suburbs of the west side in the greater Cleveland area. But I'm sure a lot of our viewers also have exposure to the east side of Cleveland from their roots. Something called Cadillac Music on the left here. Over there on the right, Carnegie Food Hub. I think I saw this on a bus once. I'm not positive what it is, but I have a suspicion. Food pickup, and it says chicken and burgers, panados, Marco's Pizza, cilantro, or not cilantro, Glantro, Trey Leche Cafe, and a few other things. It does say takeout over there. But I'm curious if this is one of those ghost kitchens. It'd be interesting to read it up. I saw a YouTube video once before about something called a ghost kitchen, and the exterior had looked just like that. And what it was you would order on like DoorDash, for example, and it would be under like a pseudonym or some other name, but you would see the dining options and you would order it, and it would really just like come here, and it's not like you have like all those businesses truly in there. Sometimes it was like robots making it, sometimes there may be people making it, but they kind of just like string it all together. Yeah, so I forgot about that until now, but it made me wonder, is that a ghost kitchen? Oh, interesting. On the left here, it says Minutemen. Is this actually... This can't be the Minutemen contracting services, is it? I mean, I know there was a thing called Minutemen. It used to be, for example, on the west side of Cleveland, which I don't think it's there anymore. But you could show up in the morning and then they would staff you at various jobs, like blue-collar jobs or whatever for that day, and you just go place to place. The reason I'm not sure if it's actually the same Minutemen is because it's like, my thought is, well, why would Minutemen need a big looking headquarters building like that? Now, I guess one thing you could think about, I was talking earlier about why would you want housing in this area. Maybe, it could fit someone who gets a nice job in downtown Cleveland. You're not really that far away from it, especially if you have a car, or even if you want to bike to work. Maybe you get a more affordable home in this area. And just go to work from there. Cut down on the expensive pricing that would be to live downtown. Cut down on gas mileage. Here's McDonald's. What's funny is when I was a student, I would always hear of people saying like, oh, like there's a McDonald's all the way up here, but I never, like, I'm not going to walk all the way over there. I had enough dining options on campus, but there's the McDonald's, whatever this was on the left. It looks like a former Rally's, but it's still closed regardless. The latest thing was, well, it says coming soon, Fins and Wings, but with all the fencing, I don't know. You never know. Sometimes things say that and they don't actually come. Oh, over here on the right, Dodd Camera. I've read about that. It's a very popular camera local place. And there's still a ton of undeveloped film that our mom and us had from when we were younger. And we've always kind of said, like, one day we should, take that in and get it developed. They're one of the places that would be able to try developing it in bulk. You got a KFC here on the left. Sometimes you can tell what a business used to be just based on the outline of things, but over here on the left, former Burger King, but that's been shuttered. There's a Cleveland Eye Clinic up ahead as we get closer to downtown Cleveland at East 28th Street. You can see Tim Misney welcoming us to downtown Cleveland and the banner on the top of the building on the right there. I guess this is pretty much it. We just did a full circle to where we started the video because the Woolstein Center is up ahead. Better get off the bike for a second here and walk. Sorry, I was looking through my bike tire. This is not the best. I'll wait till this car goes. There we go. We did get an opening. I was to say, since there's no traffic light there, cars are just rolling off of the highway right onto the Carnegie. Well, thank you all again for tuning in. If you enjoyed this little bit of exploration of the central neighborhood, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below. We will see you next time.